Good morning. It took about 12 hours over 3 days for a jury of 6 to find Michelle Troconis guilty on all 6 charges connected to the disappearance and death of Jennifer Farber-Dulos. Channel 3's New Haven Bureau Chief Matt McFarland and photojournalist Cory Peck were there throughout the weeks-long trial. They join me now to share what it was like to cover the case. Matt and Cory, welcome. Matt, I want to start with you. I know from covering trials back in the old days when I used to do it, that moment in the courtroom when the jury foreman stands up and reads the verdict is tense, no matter what your position in the case. Take us to that moment and how it unfolded.
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. So we knew something was a little different when they sent that note in just before 11 o'clock that Friday morning, because first thing we noticed was that there were a lot more judicial marshals in the courtroom, and people were sort of rushing to get back inside. And then Judge Kevin Randolph said, "We've got a note." They said they have reached a unanimous verdict. And so then it was just sort of that waiting. You could sort of feel like the tension, the weight, as sort of folks were waiting to hear what it would be. On one side of the courtroom, you had Michelle Troconis' family and friends. On the other side of the courtroom, it was everyone from Jennifer Farber-Dulos' friends and family, a number of the state police investigators that worked this case. And then, they asked the jury foreman to stand up, and he sort of responded. And one thing that was interesting, each time he said guilty, when she would ask the clerk would ask the charge, he would look to the defense table and say the word guilty. And then obviously that happened 6 times, so one each for the 6 counts that she was facing.
And Matt, we saw, she sank to her chair. Our viewers are looking at the video of it now, eventually putting her head down on the table as the word guilty was repeated over and over again. You were there throughout this trial. You've been covering the case really from the beginning in various stages. Did you see a path where the prosecution got to that guilty verdict? Obviously, your job is to be the observer, but you observed all the evidence just like the jury did. Was it a stunner for you, or did they kind of get where you thought they were going to go?
It looked like it was going in a positive direction for the prosecution. That second note that they had sent out wanting to know about tampering with evidence. Do you have to have physical contact, and can you be an accessory without having touched the evidence? When the judge said you don't need physical contact to be an accessory to tampering. As we walked out of the court, I said, geez, I really don't know. I said, but that seems good for you guys. I was talking with one of the detectives, and he goes, well, I'll just tell you, I'm smiling. So I think they felt it was trending in that right direction. Whether they thought or knew that they were going to get all 6 counts, that might have been a little bit of surprise, that conspiracy to commit murder, but sort of building along the way. They had those interviews, the changes, the omissions, the lies that they said were occurring, the video of whether it was, out on Albany Avenue in Hartford, video of the 4 Jefferson crossing the home where smoke was coming from the chimney. There was alleging that she was clearly burning evidence. So I think it all sort of built together. And then obviously the closing arguments, which were pretty captivating on both sides.
Cory, let me turn to you, and Matt just talked about it with the video piece of this. One of the things that's difficult when you're the photojournalist covering a trial is oftentimes visually these trials are very difficult to cover. This one was not. There was a lot of video that came out of the Albany Avenue search, of evidence that we didn't know would be there, bloody clothes and things like that. From a visual perspective, did that help you to tell the story? Because obviously you're taking it to the viewers, but the jury's seeing the same thing.
Well, see, it's not just the video, Eric. I mean, I found all the content to just almost be overwhelming. There was physical evidence that they showed to the jury in court that, the pool photographer got shots of, but everything was available in digital form. There was pictures of every place that the detectives went and pictures of every piece of evidence. And then there was the videos that everyone talks about on Albany Avenue, but the surveillance videos at all the houses that helped them piece their story together. All of that was available for me to put in the story. So yeah, typically, a reporter will write a track that I can't film, and I'm showing shots of the outside of the courtroom. But in this case, it was, Matt wrote something, and boom, I had that right there. I could put it right in. And I remember it was around the second week I said to Matt, editing's actually becoming a little overwhelming here, because the first couple days there wasn't much to show. It was body cam video, things like that. By the second week, Matt was like, this bloody rag, this bloody this bloody, and I had to show all those things, and it became a lot of work, just because there was so much there to have access to.
Yeah, and certainly in a 6-week trial, that adds up. Tell us about the logistics, Cory. A lot of people don't know how this happens. There's a pool camera inside the courtroom, and it's been about 10, 15 years now we've had televised trials in Connecticut. Just real quick, tell us about the logistics.
So the Judicial Department has some audio-visual guys. They made sure that the mics were good. They set up a TV in the courtroom for the jury, but then there was also a TV in the overflow room for us. That's where we worked the most because we could have access to our phones and everything like that. And the pool photographer, he had a switcher, so he could show what was on the screen or what was happening in court. So he just went back and forth between the two. That was the feed that we got, and that was the video that I was able to use to do the editing.
And so then all of the stations who were covering the trial could share in that pool feed. Matt, I want to talk to you about next steps because that's the big thing that's happening now. So where do we stand in all this with Michelle Troconis and what she does next?
Well, obviously, her attorney, John Schoenhorn, he was going to be sort of filing motions and obviously getting ready for appeals. And then she is set for sentencing May 31st. So we got a little while for that to happen, but obviously could face up to 50 years when she's sentenced. But it should be interesting to see who might speak that day in front of the judge for sentencing. But that will definitely be something to look ahead and to watch for.
30 seconds left, Matt. One thing that struck me afterwards was Michelle Troconis' family largely blamed the media. Had you felt that, or was during the course of the trial, or was that more maybe just their disappointment with the outcome?
I think it was just the disappointment with the outcome because they had no problem stepping up to the mic, you know, once a week, once every few weeks to just sort of come out and, you know, profess her innocence. That sort of seemed the raw emotion and the gravity of the situation, the reality setting in, that she was guilty on all 6 counts.
Well, certainly it has been a big trial that you guys have been covering for a long time. I know the viewers see Matt on TV. They don't see Cory on TV. But there's a reason that this station does such a great job down in New Haven, and it's the two of you doing that coverage. We appreciate you letting the viewers see a little bit behind the curtain how this all came together. And, of course, we'll be watching your coverage as she goes back in for sentencing in a few weeks. Cory Peck, Matt McFarland, thanks for being with us here on CT24.